Good morning and welcome to day 2 of Blockchain Ireland Week 2021. You are most welcome to today's program, which is focusing primarily on sustainability and social impact. My name is Paul Hearns and I'll be hosting some of the sessions today, and I'll just give you a quick flavor of what we have on today. So as I said, today we are focusing on sustainability and social impact, and we have quite a wide range of presentations and discussion panels around those topics. So we have everything from the European Commission with Peteris Selgalvis, who will talk about the EU and blockchain. We have a panel on education and inclusion. We'll have a very basic introduction to blockchain, which is Blockchain for Dummies at 1. We will also have quite a diverse range of representation geographically, as we will have a spotlight on Africa from the African Blockchain Association. But we'll also be looking at everything from NFTs with high spirits, which is going to mix art, whiskey, and non-fungible tokens, which is quite a heady mix. But we'll also have the technological side, where Nexalis will be talking about physical technology to help reduce the energy impact of blockchain technologies. And then we'll also have an interesting piece on blockchain beer and craft brewing and how blockchain is used in that area, but also fauna life, and that's how blockchain is being implemented for pet identity. But back to this morning, and we're going to have as our opening keynote Sanjay Poddar of Accenture Technology. And Sanjay is going to be talking about technology for sustainability, innovation where it's needed most, the transformational power of blockchain and multi-party systems. Sanjay is global leader for technology, sustainability and innovation at Accenture and drives thought leadership and innovation in this area. He is also responsible for establishing and managing the ecosystem strategy for sustainability and developing technology capabilities and offerings for embedding sustainability best practice in technology delivery. So thank you very much for joining us this morning, Sanjay. I know it's quite a distance, both in terms of geography and time. So we very much appreciate your participation this morning.
Thank you so much, Paul, and thanks for having me. And it's a wonderful opportunity to talk to all of you, share what I see in my role as the technology sustainability innovation lead in Accenture. A little bit about myself. I have not always been in the area of sustainability. I've been largely an innovation lead, exploring all the new technologies that are hitting us every other day, whether it is AI, blockchain, IoT, extended reality, you name it, right? The cloud. So, but what I observed around 6 to 7 years back was these technologies, while they were being used for solving many business problems then, the power of these technologies were actually very well suited to solve some of the biggest challenges humanity is facing today. And this was a time when United Nations Sustainable Development Goals were beautifully articulated. And it became very, very obvious that to solve the SDGs, which are so complex, so exponential in nature, you need the power of exponential technologies. So all these technologies, we are discussing blockchain now in this particular event, but all these technologies on their own, as well as in combination, they help you create exponential solutions that can scale, that can have a non-linear impact to solve some of the sustainable development goals. So that's what I realized. So I'll probably share some of my early realizations. In fact, one of the recent work that I just did a month back is in a museum where we, in Bangalore, one of the largest private museum, where we brought to life India's most celebrated artist. He's more than 100 years old, so he's no longer alive. But we thought, it will be great for children to know about him, his life and his work. And we brought him to life with a combination of various technologies: 3D, holographic rendition, conversational AI. We used the deepfake technologies. We brought in ethics in the whole game. How do we make sure that the interactions are ethical based on real information that can be shared? And what you now have is a 3D representation of the artist who can actually talk to children visiting the museum about his work. Children can ask him questions and he can give very, very witty, smart answers. And that leaves a memorable impression in the minds of the children. So what is important, therefore, is to reimagine the experience in learning and education, to move from what we have always been doing. For example, reading from books or reading digital, but then you can be screenless. You can actually create and interact with personas, for example. So that is a very recent work. But over the past 6-7 years, I have worked in variety of sustainable development goals areas. So what I present today will be my experience across the breadth of the work. Whether it is preventing human trafficking, or it is addressing zero hunger SDG, or making sure no child should be deprived of education because of hunger, or biodiversity protection. So a lot of diverse area and diverse set of technologies. The other experience that I felt or I gathered along the way is that all these sustainability goals are so huge that no single person can solve on their own, whether it is a person or an organization. What is needed is an ecosystem, multi-party system, people coming together and collaborating and bringing the collective intelligence to solve. And in the backdrop of the blockchain event, I think that's one big opportunity for blockchain to create multi-party systems in many of the sustainability use cases. And we will talk a little bit more during this session about how blockchain can help in many such use cases. The third realization I had was sustainability is not just a corporate social responsibility agenda, because very often when you talk about sustainability, people think, okay, this is charity, or my organization has a corporate citizenship or set up, and we help many social causes. The impact of sustainability can be much far reaching, as in you can embed it into the core of your business. In Accenture, what we believe that is that every business is a technology business, and every business will be a sustainable business, as in they will be in the path of embracing sustainability by 2025. And why will they do that? And that's, again, we will discuss a little bit. Why will a successful organization want to become twin transformers, bringing technology and sustainability together to win in the marketplace? We'll talk about that as well. So those were some of my realizations about the power of technology, about the power of ecosystem, and the very fact that when the intersection of technology and sustainability can unleash a lot of value and values that can help businesses to be successful in future. So moving on, I think we all have just experienced a giant fast forward. And this has been because of the pandemic that times we are living in, COVID-19. Maybe a year, more than a year back, what we are experiencing now, we could not have imagined. When we discussed climate change, it was something that would happen for not in our lifetime, maybe in our children's lifetime. And so, we all thought it is important, but nobody thought it was urgent. And then COVID-19 happened. And when COVID-19 happened, what we experienced was a giant fast forward. The future is here. We have not yet caught up with this future. And what has therefore happened is across the world, across corporations, across businesses, innovation has accelerated. More innovation has happened in the past few months than might have happened for many years. So that's a whole pace of innovation that has hit us across industries. And you will see, for example, in financial services industry, there is a lot of margin pressure, but they are also facing a lot of innovations from cryptos to central bank digital currencies coming to chime and so many things. So all industries, businesses in all industries have to rapidly become digital native and have to adapt to this new reality that they are confronting. Um, the uh, Before COVID, we used to articulate what we call the digital achievement gap, and this is about in any industry. Businesses that embrace digital, that becomes digital companies or businesses, they had two times they would be having higher revenues, or they would be doing better business than their peers. So in any industry, if you look at the 10% of the businesses who have embraced digital, who have become digital companies, they would outperform their peers by two times, right? So that's what we used to call the digital achievement gap. But that was pre-COVID. In post-COVID, digital has become so important to adapt to the changes around us that that gap in your performance has become five times, right? So that's the digital achievement gap. And it is therefore very important for all of us as individuals or as organizations to embrace these kind of digital technologies, because that's what is going to make you more resilient, make your business more resilient, for example. Um, what we are observing here is a huge adoption of cloud, for example, because when with cloud, businesses have found themselves to be much more resilient. So the journey to the cloud has been accelerated in this pandemic times. And this cloud also provides us a huge opportunity because many of your partners, including yourself, since you're all moving to the cloud, this may be a great opportunity to even relook into your business processes such that you can create a shared data infrastructure using technologies like blockchain. And when you do things like that, your processes get streamlined. There's less need for reconciliation. The throughput improves, the efficiencies improve. Example would be, for example, having an insurance system, a shared data infrastructure for an insurance system where various insurance companies, police, and individuals, whoever are part of this ecosystem, they have access to a shared data infrastructure. And this can be built because everybody's moving into the cloud, and then you can have this kind of a shared data infrastructure using blockchain. And then you start asking yourself, how will my processes change? Because now the data are no longer in isolation. You don't have to reconcile. There's a one single truth, and your business process starts looking very different. And that's how you kind of make sure that you have a lead in the digital achievement gap that you're creating vis-a-vis the competition. So that is one. Um, so businesses around the globe today, and even as individuals, we are all facing moments of truth, and there are the moment of truth is here, and that has been brought to us by the pandemic, right? We are confronting the future right now, and unless we address the vulnerabilities that has been exposed by the pandemic, it has exposed the vulnerabilities of the human race, the vulnerabilities of our systems, of organizations, unless we can address these moments of truth, the whole future of our planet and the future of our existence is under question. So let's look at what are these moments of truth, what are the realities that we are talking about. The first one is of human experience, and never in human history has 8 billion of us simultaneously we have changed behaviors, right? Uh, and we have adopted to new way of living and working. For example, the online grocery shoppings have gone up significantly, twofold or more. Telehealth, it has been around for so long, and there has been such a big adoption issue, but telehealth actually has gone up 350 times during the COVID period. And I don't know about the blockchain island way, but I'm sure in the past this would have been an in-person event maybe, but overall our communication platforms, interactions have changed. Zoom, Teams, the way we are talking to people, interacting with group, organizing events, that has changed, for example. The whole human experience has changed, and this is a new realities for individuals and businesses to adapt to, right? Uh, the next big reality that we are confronting is technology, and what has happened is everybody has been forced to adapt to technology because technology has become a lifeline. And even after hopefully the pandemic is no longer there, lives can come back to normal, but technology will create a new normal for us. Technology is here to stay. It is, I'm sure we will still use a lot of technology in our the way we live, given that we have learned so much through this pandemic, and technology has become a lifeline for us. So that is the other reality, that technology is not going to change, is here to stay, and it is going to play a very big role in our life. So we saw one reality of how our human experience will change, how the technology is going to stay with us. The third reality is what we call the nature of work, right? And if you look at what COVID did to us, it forced millions like us to work from home. And for the first time, we are working in a location independent, time independent, a data driven, asynchronous, a metadata driven, hyper automated work environment, right? And this work environment is posing to be a big opportunity for us to see how we can unleash the best of human potential in this work environment, right? So that is the other reality. Even after COVID is not there anymore, hopefully, our work environment will again look like a new normal. It is going to be very different than what we have been used to. The fourth reality is that of sustainability, and what we have seen in this COVID world is our vulnerability, the need to bring more sustainability in the process, the need to ensure that our we can meet the commitments to the Paris Agreement in this regard. More and more companies are making commitments towards a net zero carbon future, for example, and this is catching on. General Motors and Microsoft, for example, announced that how they are going to create a cruise self-driving vehicle, and then Microsoft again announced a $2 billion investment in their cloud, which, by the way, is a huge opportunity to drive sustainability. the journey to the cloud itself, our study shows, can reduce carbon emissions every year by 55 million tons of CO2 equivalent. And that is possible because of better cooling, better compute utilization, better cloud native architectures, for example, and various other levers. And about you can reduce as high as 84% of carbon emissions by moving your systems from your data center to the cloud. And I guess I heard Paul speak that there is going to be a session later in the day about the energy efficiencies of blockchain and so on and so forth. But these are very interesting areas, about sustainability, how sustainability can give you new value or values in the intersection of sustainability and technology. And you will see every company, successful company, market leaders, they're trying to embrace these sustainability goals, the net zero commitments. In fact, General Motor made a $27 billion commitment to make its fleet completely electric by 2026. So in general, that is another reality, right? The reality is, as we saw, there's a change of human experience. There is tremendous adoption of technology in our lives. There is a change in the way we work. And then there is a lot of focus on trust and sustainability, and businesses are realizing that this is an opportunity to rebuild your foundation, your business foundation. And study shows that when you focus on technology and sustainability, you are likely to be successful in future 2.5 times more than your competition who's not doing that, right? So these are the new realities. Now, uh, moving on to how let's understand these realities and how technology is going to shape them better in future. So we can look at the Tech Vision 2021 that Accenture kind of announces every year. So this year's Tech Vision 2021 talks about leaders wanted, masters of change at a moment of truth. So we are at a moment of truth. And we are also at a moment of trust, right? And given that we are talking about blockchain here, that's one technology that gets associated a lot with creating trust in systems, right? Given immutable nature of distributed ledgers and so on and so forth. So let's try to understand the four realities a little bit in more details, and how technology will help shape this in the backdrop of these new realities, and help build trust with stakeholders, right? Stack strategically. Now, this is the very first tech vision trend. And when you say stack strategically, what it is really saying is, how do you, that businesses are going to partner or adopt technology in a way that gives them a strategic advantage for architecting for a better future. I briefly talked about the cloud, and I spoke about how there is a rush to move into the public cloud because it makes you more resilient, more agile, lowers the cost of ownership, and more importantly, also helps you to meet your sustainability goals. Microsoft Azure, for example, gives you a sustainability calculator so that every time you move your workload to the cloud, Azure cloud, you can go and see how much carbon emissions you have prevented. And it is therefore a kind of a twin transformer, helping you with business resilience as well as with achieving your sustainability target. The transition towards renewable energy and net zero, that will be another very important sustainability objectives for business. One very good example is Accenture, my company, working with NG, which is a clean carbon-free energy provider, and Salesforce and Velocity. And what they're really trying to do is together create a CRM system that can help NG's clients move towards a net zero carbon future, making the right choice of renewable energy, right? So that is another very interesting thing. So this is one of the important um, element of our technology vision, where we are talking about how organizations are adopting the right set of technologies and ecosystems so that they can stack strategically for a much more sustainable future. And so that's one trend. The next trend is about a mirrored world. So when we talk about mirrored world, it's all about what we call as digital twins. So what are digital twins? Digital twins are basically a digital avatar of your factories, your plants, your processes, your people. Now, why do you need these kind of digital twins? Because in real life, experimentation is both complex and difficult. If you have a digital twin, it is very easy for you to do simulations using real data, using historical data, and then you can look into, for example, implications of doing a responsible supply chain, or a product design, or a circular economy. So one of the good example, again, I can give you in this space is with help of blockchain. Porsche, the car manufacturer, they are working with a blockchain provider called Circularize, and they're material suppliers. And what Porsche is doing is creating a digital twin of their supply chain, and it can now look at how they are impacting their environmental social goal parameters, so, on say carbon footprint or water savings and so on and so forth in the supply chain, right? So that is another way technology is being used to create digital twins in this new world of technology and sustainability led innovation. The next trend that I can talk about is I technologist, the democratization of technology. What is happening is technology is moving in a direction where things are getting simplified and democratized. On one hand, technology is becoming complex, but on the other hand, it is becoming easy to use. Whether it is, for example, cloud adoption, as I said, or serverless, you don't really have to bother about your own hardware infrastructure. You can, in no time, buy your own virtual machines or your containers, or create some serverless architectures. And as a citizen developer, you can easily stand up a system. Low code, no code platforms are coming up, and even a citizen developer can quickly create systems. And from a sustainability perspective, there are many examples where people are building this kind of systems to address sustainability requirements. For example, there is a Dutch company called Betty Block. They are a low-code company, and one of the employees created an app called MySep, which kind of tracks issues or safety issues in the workplace, and then the supervisors can have a look at it, for example. So there can be, this is all about citizen developers, technologists. Technology is becoming so simple to use that anybody can start building using technology to solve problems, sustainability challenges. The other thing is anywhere, everywhere, bring your own environment. Now, this is again something, as we saw in the COVID world, our workplace changed big time. We all went into work from home mode. But what is now happening is what was a pandemic response is becoming a strategic response, where people are realizing that they can avoid unnecessary commute, for example, and reduce carbon emission. They can right size their real estate infrastructure, for example. And more interestingly, there are companies like Twitter, which has announced that remote working is there to stay. And this is actually helping them to bring more diversity in their hiring process, because they can now hire from any part of the world, and uh, as well as have better work-life balance as well. So bring on your own environment is another important technology trend. And finally, coming to from me to we. Now, this is very, very relevant because blockchain is going to play a big role here. Multi-party systems path through chaos. As I mentioned at the start of my talk as well, in the intersection of technology and sustainability, there are multiple, value proposition values that we can see we can deliver. One such value is, for example, digital identity. There are billions in this world, in this planet, who still don't have a formal digital identity, don't have an identity, in fact. And take example of ID 2020 initiative, where there is an attempt to create a digital identity for people who are without identity, millions of them, migrants, for example. And similarly, now that we are in a COVID world, waiting for the world to open so that we can go ahead and travel, there is a whole opportunity of using blockchain. And in fact, Accenture is working with United Airlines to what we are calling the World ID Travel platform, again with blockchain. And such a platform can help you, for example, to track your pre-travel health checks. Are you complying with the entry norms of various places? And overall, how do you reduce infection, for example? So that's another very interesting use case. Then the other places where multi-party systems are being used a lot is in areas like responsible supply chain, whether it is from cocoa beans or coffee, for example, or barley, for example. How do you ensure traceability in the entire supply chain? How do you ensure fair trade practices? How do you prevent use of child labor, for example? So these kind of use cases are increasingly being implemented using blockchain. And because you have traceability, you can also make it into a circular supply chain as well. In fact, there are also attempts to prevent, for example, counterfeit drugs, tampering of medicine, drugs, vaccines, with the help of preventing it with the help of blockchain-based systems. Nippon Express and DHL, they are collaborating with pharmaceutical companies to eliminate, counterfeit drugs. So that is another second use case that I see blockchain is being used a lot. Now, this is a project that we did. In fact, for Akshay Patra, we just got recognized with the Fast Company World Changing Idea a couple of weeks back. But this project was very interesting. Akshay Patra is one of the world's largest public feeding program. They feed millions of children in school every day, with the motto that no child should be deprived of education because of hunger. Now, what does blockchain have to do with hunger? But because they have a supply chain from procurement to cooking millions of meals every day, serving food to thousands of schools every day, we implemented a blockchain which allowed us to get accurate feedback about timeliness of food delivery, about the quality of food delivery, and that helped in the auditing process of Akshay Patra as well. Another thing to point out is, blockchain is very good, but when used in combination with other technologies, you can unleash a lot of power of this technology. And what we did in this case, other than the cloud, we brought in the blockchain, then we used AI for a lot of prediction of next day's meal requirement. We used IoT with sensors and beacons to make sure that we are capturing accurate real-time data into Akshay Patra's blockchain. IoT is often used for ensuring there's an integrity between the status in the physical world and what is being saved in the blockchain. So that is a very interesting story that we did with Akshay Patra. And then, what I want to share with you is a very interesting work that we did along with called the Circular Supply Chain Initiative with MasterCard, AWS, Amazon Web Service, Mercy Corp, and Everledger. Let me show you a video called the Red String, which is based on this on stories from from Asia about how our lives are all connected with a red string. And this is a very good example of responsible value chains.
What if we could know the name of those that grow our food or make our clothes? If we could see those that work every day to sustainably create the products we need? In a time when our global economy is more anonymous than ever? What if we could connect people like never before? If people were empowered to buy from companies that shared their values, and each and every one of us were able to directly contribute to an inclusive green economy, what would it change? With blockchain, we now have a trusted, secure connection with producers all around the world, no matter how small. Wiping away the anonymity and opening the world of possibilities by closing the loop from producer to consumer.
Ma'am? Ma'am?
Yes.
Do you have some questions I could help you with?
No, I think I'll take this one.
Oh, it's a great choice.
Yeah, I really love the bamboo.
I'll get it started for you.
At Accenture, we believe this is the first step toward making a more fair and better world for everyone.
So next time you go to a superstore and pick up any goods, just look at the trust label and see, think about whether it was made using sustainable materials, like where did it come from, and it will be so good that as a consumer, if we can start getting this kind of information, and we can also, for example, tip that small holding farmer from where the coffee has come. So that's a future. Another use case very rapidly where you see a lot of blockchain being brought into play is, how do you ensure that public funds and resources are being deployed correctly for the purpose it has been allotted? There is a work that we have been doing with KfW Development Bank using True Budget software in Burkina Faso. And the whole idea is to give total transparency to the stakeholders on how the funds are being used, and they're used for the purpose it has been approved for. And this has traditionally been a big challenge in any kind of development work. So this is another example. And finally, I'll end up with a very interesting use case for blockchain, which is the central bank digital currency. Many central banks are exploring this area. About 40 central banks that I know of from a World Economic Forum survey. And the central bank digital currency in Accenture itself, we have people who specialize in this area, that they are having deep understanding of this area. But this is about representing, as we all know, blockchains can be used to tokenize, to create, to represent assets, not just information, assets. And you can use smart contracts on top of it. So central bank digital currency, unlike crypto, is less chaotic. US dollar in a central bank digital currency is a US dollar. So it is not speculative, but at the same time, it can revolutionize payments. You can, for example, somebody in your family, and what purpose you are making that payment to, maybe to your children, and for what purpose, what they can buy with that payment. So using smart contracts and other means, you can also enforce how that payment can be, money can be used. It can be anonymized, payments can be anonymized as well. A lot of funds can be quickly moved around in the form of a central bank digital currency. So this is a very new area, very useful for governments to mobilize or to move money in the system, which became so important during the COVID times for governments. So central bank digital currency, again, a very interesting use case for blockchain. And finally, what we are seeing, that 90% of executives that we surveyed, they agree that multi-party systems will enable their ecosystems to forge a more resilient and adaptable foundation to create new value with their organization's partners. So this is a big value coming out of blockchain. So in closing, we are all ready for something new. And so let's there be change. I hope you liked the points I made in the intersection of technology, sustainability, and how as a twin transformer, they will help us create a much more sustainable, inclusive, and prosperous world. With that, I'll close my talk, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. That was a truly global view, I think, covering all aspects of the technical possibilities there. So thank you very much for that. We are a little bit tight on time, so I think we'll just jump straight in. Please do feel free to put questions in the Q&A box at the bottom. There is one there already, so I think we might just jump straight into that. So the question is, do you have more examples or resources about the usage of blockchain and digital twins? Is it being applied in healthcare or medicine yet? So I think that the idea of digital twins has been around for a little while, but is probably still a little bit rarefied in many people's minds. So do you have any more examples around its use cases, particularly with blockchain?
There are many use cases of digital twins today, but on healthcare itself, we have worked on creating a digital twin with sensors that gives you real-time health indication of your heart rate variability, for example, things like that, which help astronauts train for the future, right? Because otherwise you'll have to go into the outer space and actually experience the impact of space in your body. So you can create a digital twin, and in the comfort of your lab, experience the impact of outer space, what it does to your body parameters. So there are many such experimentation. We ourselves had done this a year back on creating a digital twin and studying the impact on heart rate variability and various other factors, and things like that. But there are many such use cases.
Very good, thank you. There's another question then. Ashling is asking, thank you for this presentation, she says first, but how do you see the sustainability advantages of blockchain technology compare with the energy costs involved in mining? Oh, sorry, I presume she means Bitcoin technology there as opposed to blockchain in reference to mining of cryptocurrencies. So this has been a broad sort of criticism that the energy overhead is becoming prohibitive, and as we have seen, comments in social media is very much to the fore. So what's your view there, and have technological changes come about to address that?
This is a very important question, and to be fair to blockchain, this is not just limited to blockchain. 1% of global electricity today is being used by data centers, which is going to grow from 3 to 8% in the next 10 years, right? And a lot of this electricity is even today generated with coal. We all know Bitcoin consumes as much energy or more than many small nations of the world, more than Belgium or New Zealand or Netherlands, or so it's a fact, it's true. But it is also true that technology is not good or bad. It's what do we use it for? While Bitcoin, because of the very nature of mining, is very energy intensive, there are other use cases with proof of stake and in enterprise use cases where we can use blockchain for building more trust, more responsible supply chains, as I described in my talk, right? And those use cases are not as energy intensive as a Bitcoin. So we often get confused between Bitcoin to imply that all blockchain is as energy intensive as a Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an example of how blockchain has been used in that context, right? The other thing is it's always possible to use the right guidance, standards, practices, choice of tools and architectures to reduce the carbon emissions of digital system. In fact, I gave an example that just simply by moving my workload from my own data center to a large service cloud provider, I can reduce carbon emission by 84%. Because I can't do server consolidation. I have to for backups, I have to provision more servers. I cannot have the same cooling technology that big providers have, because they are sometimes build their cloud on besides a flowing river, for example, right? They buy renewable energy, for example. They buy offsets, for example. They have better server consolidation technologies, for example. What we are trying to do industry-wide now is set up this kind of foundations where we can guide practitioners on how do you use all these technologies the right way so that sustainability becomes a first-class citizen in software development process. And energy efficiencies of the systems are there upfront for people to see how much is energy consuming is this software, right? So green software is something we are exploring a lot with our ecosystem partners, which also goes back to the question on the blockchain. How do you, which is the right use case for the blockchain? Sometimes it becomes very fashionable to use blockchain even where no blockchain is required, right? So you can even do with some other technology like a plain RDBMS, but even then we want to show that we are using blockchain. So the question is very important, but it also equally applicable to many AI. AI used the wrong way can also consume a lot of energy. Our experiments have shown just to increase the accuracy of an AI model, if I want to increase the accuracy by 2%, I may end up consuming 7 times more energy. In fact, there are a lot of interesting study from MIT that shows training a complex AI model causes as much carbon emission as 5 average American car in the lifetime. Now, so blockchain is not alone. So the ICT sector emissions have to be reduced definitely, and they can be reduced significantly by using the right guidelines, standards, and that's what collectively we are trying to do in the industry.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we're up against time now, so I'll just say thank you very much, Sanjay, and thank you to everybody for your questions. I'm sure we could have continued much longer in terms of interesting points to explore. So thank you very much, and of course, thank you to our sponsors. Accenture is a gold sponsor for Blockchain Ireland Week, making much of what we're doing possible. So a particular thanks there. So please do check out blockchainireland.ie/events for the rest of the day's program and for the rest of the week. But for now, we'll just say thank you very much to Sanjay, to everyone at Accenture, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.